Yes, he is joined. Shreya.
Okay, sir.
Uh, okay, welcome to you, sir. Welcome, Damka, sir.
Yeah,
Can you? Yeah. So we are touch with this SIH from long time. He's also one of the uh, so there are our student volunteers and faculty members who are joined this meeting. Damka sir and uh, Naman and Shreya. Damka sir is very instrumental in this SIH from the its inception. So he was one of the driving force behind this concept uh, in initial days of SIH. So today we are very much fortunate to have him as a today's leadership talk as a speaker. So I really we are all honored to have him as a speaker for today's SIH leadership talk. Sir, thank you for accepting our invitation and sparing time with us. Now I request Rhea to introduce himself and to the participants and request him to start his speech. Over to Shreya.
Thank you, sir, for joining us today. A very good evening to all our dignitaries, faculty, and our participants who are joining us in this leadership talk. Our participants have just finished day two of the Smart India Hackathon Grand Finale. So today we have with us Dr. Arun Jamkar. He's the current chairman of I4C India. Mr. Jamkar has been the Vice Chancellor of Maharashtra University of Health Sciences and has heavily contributed to the medical sciences in India. Sir began his journey as a medical student from GMC Aurangabad. Since then, Sir has spent 3 decades teaching surgery and performing thousands of major operations in places like Grant Medical College, Mumbai and BJ Medical College, Pune. Sir believes in applying technology to improve the health and quality of life of the common man. Over the years, he has helped to create an ecosystem for interdisciplinary research between science and technology, Ayurvedic and homeopathic medicine. One such example of interdisciplinary collaboration would be the clinical engineering by creating engineers for hospital. His consistent inclination towards medical research resulted in a PhD in surgical oncology from National Institute of Virology, Pune. A significant milestone of his journey was attaining the position of Dean of BJ Medical College, Pune. Sir, kindly tell us and all our participants more about your journey and motivate our participants.
thank you. I'm audible.
Yes, sir, you're audible.
Mm. My screen seen there,
Yes, sir, we can see your screen.
but I don't see rest of the participants. Okay,
So actually, we are streaming this entire meeting on YouTube. So they are viewing the entire stream on YouTube.
okay. Let me first thank Mr. Sunil Mane for inviting me for the leadership talk on in this leadership era in this corona pandemic, and I have been introduced. And thanks for introduction. I'm a surgeon by training, and I was a professor of surgery and dean of BJ Medical College, and then subsequently I became vice chancellor of a state-owned medical university. After that, when I retired from there, I joined multiple streams, and one of that stream is I'm consultant in persistent systems. And then basically, we are talking about Smart India Hackathon, and the Smart India Hackathon has been our initiation to begin with. And this is one of the finest era of Smart India Hackathon, where every time all the 4 editions, Mr. Modi, our honorable president, say Prime Minister, addresses it, and then he makes it point to see that everywhere he talks about Smart and Hackathon. This is the growth of Smart and Hackathon. This is all available on your website. But then we are growing fast, and I think this time what we did was all those hackathon were done at colleges. So this was the biggest say innovation movement. But to begin with, we started all within what's called as Interinstitutional Inclusive Innovation Center, I4C, where I'm the director and the vice president of this organization. And this is the one we started the activity. We had what's called the Inclusive Innovation 2013. And after that, Dr. Anand Deshpande, who is our mentor, motivator, and all of us together, we started this I4C organization, which is a Section 8 company. And then we believe in developing innovation ecosystem in country. And through that, we started doing say various hackathons. And then that's how we started put in as a Smart Data Hackathon 2017. So it grows so fast, and subsequently it was, I must say, the beautifully hijacked by Government of India. And today, this is the biggest hackathon movement in the country. But basically, our aim is to create an innovation ecosystem and to come in the ranking of innovation indices in the world. Now we are around 57, but then we should come in first 57. So my going to talk about first how we are doing in India, about how we had an Indian type of say innovation movements. Then we'll go to what are the present status and how we should do in AI systems. And lastly, I'll talk just about leadership. So what is required now is, while we are all trying to do innovations, we need to think that all these innovations need to go to the people at the bottom of pyramid. We have 2.6 billion people where there is the lack of access of essential services. They are excluded from economic growth. Therefore, all these innovations need to go to them. And then we have a very specific and very different psych that we try to do something at low cost. And this was in Harvard Business Review, where the C.K. Prahlad and our R.K. Mashalkar put this whole, the innovations holy grail, and they just put in a whole idea of how Indian thinks entirely different. So much so that the global trends in alternate world put it as one of the point of agenda. And therefore, I just want to just find out and put first thing, that is how innovations are going to improve the quality of man, quality of, say, Indian in our country. And therefore, these innovations need to be directed. So all of you who are maybe most intelligent people in the Indian students, and therefore we need to think and find out how we can do better innovations which can be benefited to this country. We do a lot of research, and then money, research requires money. Therefore, research converts money into knowledge. And therefore, all that research, once it happens, what is required is innovation, because innovation converts knowledge into money. And therefore, this is important. And then, as I said, we are very famous about Jugaad innovations, and those innovations going to the people at bottom of pyramid, what is called as Gandhi innovations. And then I must go a little more detail that this is what is called as an inclusive innovation. Now, I'm trying to put this point across, because unless and until we think of a common man in this country where he has an affordable access on the sustainable basis, and therefore this is required, and something like this, the nanovation, because say Tata's created a car which was entirely new, and then it was costing less than 1 lakh rupee. Subsequently, they had some problem because people thought it's a poor man's car. But then we need to find out how we can do all these innovations to reach the masses. Now, the classical example is Shanta Biotech, where they created a low-cost hepatitis B vaccine. And say Argemone mexicana, where they used a drug from Siddha therapy, which is entirely cheap. And therefore, our aim, the moment we reach to the masses, to reach the people at the bottom of pyramid, then it becomes an innovation movement. And then anything that is affordable to public, the masses, it can go across the country to the global world. And therefore, now this is, if you can see, the innovation and the source of technology. Now, people all over the world, they are worried because our cell phone services are so cheap. And therefore, we need to find out how the cheaper things can go ahead. Now, as I said, we need to do something for the poor. And think out of box. The classical example is what is called the Mitti Cool. Now this is just a what you call the clay refrigerator. So what is it? It's just made up of a clay, and then at the top portion you have to put the water, and it just sips inside, and then anything inside becomes cool. And just this cost only 1,000 rupees. So what is important is to do out of box thinking. Now we have 9 lines, say 9 dots. Suppose you are asked to connect these dots without lifting the pencil. Can you do that? You try. And then if you can find out that this whole thing is, it can only happen once you go outside the box. And therefore, the moment we go outside the box, it does happen. That's why we need to think what is called as an outside the box. So there are various innovations, called the business process innovation, workflow innovations, and we need to think in all these directions. Now, workflow innovations are very important in maybe, because I am a surgeon, because I will give you the examples of medicine. In Arvind Netralaya, say if you see, then in cataract surgery, the expertise required for ophthalmic operation is only 30%, and 70% is non-medical. Therefore, what they did is they just had 10 tables, and then everything, the Z-ray prepared, injections are given, and by the nurses or assistant, and the surgeon comes and he only operates. As a net result, in a given time, instead of on a, say maybe 1 hour or maybe 2 hours, instead of having 3 operations, the Arvind Netralaya is able to perform 10 operations. This is because of workflow innovation. Same thing is happening in Nara and Rudayalaya. So even my student, Dr. Jagtap, he does same thing. Suppose you're operating on heart, he operates 4 operations per day simultaneously. So first table somebody opens, he goes, he does an anastomosis, third team comes and they'll close. So by the time the second table is ready, where he goes and just do say anastomosis. As a net result, instead of performing 2 operations or 3 operations per day, he is able to perform 10 to 15 operations. So this is what is called as a workflow innovations. So this is what we think all the time, that this is our Indian innovation mindset. We think differently. We say West creates less from less. We always have what is called as more from less for more, and therefore these are very good for the low resource settings, and we have out of box thinking. So innovations require to us to go ahead, and most important thing, they need to be affordable, because unless and until they are affordable, they can't go to the masses. And the classical example is Jaipur food. And then we have what is called as invisible innovation. Now, Nirmal Kumar, who was at London School of Economics, and he had a PhD thesis on with a Farnish Puranam on how does Indian think. I think this is very nice. Is it audible?
No, sir, it's not audible.
The video is not available, sir. It is not audible, sir. Hello. Sir, it is not audible. I think he is not listening to us. Sir, we can see only the video, but the audio is not there.
Now,
Okay, while sharing system audio, we need to check.
what should I do?
When you share screen, sir, there is a checkbox include system audio that we need to check.
So I have to go back.
Yes, sir.
Supporting the Western innovative model, say, where are the Indian Googles, iPods, and Viagras? If the Indians are so bloody smart. So initially, when we started our research, we went and met several executives and we asked them, what do you think? Will India go from being a favored destination for software services and back office services to a destination for innovation? They laughed. They dismissed us. They said, you know what? Indians don't do innovation. The more polite ones said, well, you know, Indians make good software programmers and accountants, but they can't do the creative stuff. Sometimes it took a veneer of sophistication. And people said, you know, it's nothing to do with Indians. It's really the road-based, regimented education system in India that is responsible for killing all creativity. They said, instead, if you want to see real creativity, go to Silicon Valley and look at companies like Google, Microsoft, Intel. So we started examining the R&D and innovation labs of Silicon Valley. Well, interestingly, what you find there is, usually you're introduced to the head of the innovation lab or the R&D center, as they may call it, and more often than not, it's an Indian. So I immediately said, well, but you could not have been educated in India, right? You must have gotten your education here. It turned out in every single case, they came out of the Indian educational system. So we realized that maybe we have the wrong question. And the right question is, really, can Indians based out of India do innovative work? So off we went to India. We made, I think, about a dozen trips to Bangalore, Mumbai, Gurgaon, Delhi, Hyderabad, you name it, to examine what is the level of corporate innovation in these countries, in these cities. And what we found was, as we progressed in our research, was that we were asking really the wrong question. When you ask, where are the Indian Googles, iPods, and Viagras, you are taking a particular perspective on innovation, which is innovation for end users, visible innovation. Instead, innovation, if you remember, some of you may have read the famous economist Schumpeter, he said innovation is novelty in how value is created and distributed. It could be new products and services, but it could also be new ways of producing products. It could also be novel ways of organizing firms and industries. Once you take this, there's no reason to restrict innovation, the beneficiaries of innovation, just to end users. When you take this broader conceptualization of innovation, what we found was India is well represented in innovation, but the innovation that is being done in India is of a form we did not anticipate. And what we did was we called it invisible innovation. And specifically, there are 4 types of invisible innovation that are coming out of India. The first type of invisible innovation out of India is what we call innovation for business customers, which is led by the multinational corporations, which have, in the last 2 decades, there have been 750 R&D centers set up in India by multinational companies, employing more than 400,000 professionals. Now, when you consider the fact that historically, the R&D center of a multinational company was always in the headquarters or in the country of origin of that multinational company. To have 750 R&D centers of multinational corporations in India is truly a remarkable figure. When we went and talked to the people in those innovation centers and asked them what are they working on, they said, we are working on global products. They were not working on localizing global products for India, which is the usual role of a local R&D. They were working on truly global products. And companies like Microsoft, Google, AstraZeneca, General Electric, Philips have already answered in the affirmative the question that from the Bangalore and Hyderabad R&D centers, they are able to produce products and services for the world. But of course, as an end user, you don't see that because you only see the name of the company, not where it was developed. The other thing we were told then was, yes, but you know, the kind of work that is coming out of the Indian R&D center cannot be compared to the kind of work that is coming out of the US R&D centers. So my co-author, Fanish Puranam, who happens to be one of the smartest people I know, said he's going to do a study. What he did was, he looked at those companies that had an R&D center in USA and in India. And then he looked at a patent that was filed out of the US and a similar patent filed out of the same company's subsidiary in India. So he's now comparing the patents of R&D centers in the US with R&D centers in India of the same company to find out what is the quality of the patents filed out of the Indian centers and how do they compare with the quality of the patents filed out of the US centers. Interestingly, what he finds is, and by the way we look at the quality of a patent is what we call forward citations. How many times does a future patent reference the older patent? He finds something very interesting. What we find is that the data says that the number of forward citations of a patent filed out of the US R&D subsidiary is identical to the number of forward citations of a patent filed by an Indian subsidiary of the same company within that company. So within the company, there's no difference in the forward citation rates of the Indian subsidiaries versus the US subsidiaries. So that's the first kind of invisible innovation coming out of India. Second kind of invisible innovation coming out of India is what we call outsourcing.
So I would request all of you to go to TED Talk, and this is available because it's a 15 minutes video, which gives you an entirely what you call it as a viewpoint that how Indians are doing well, and this is about all invisible, and then same thing being talked, which is there, and then sometimes let us say it's a Boeing, that the Dreamliner, the major components to avoid collision in sky, to land in zero visibility, they are all developed in India. So this is just trying to tell you that how Indians are contributing to the global innovation. And let us go further. And then I might refer this book called The World is Flat by Thomas Friedman. And he says now the whole thing is changing. That world is becoming flat, and then there are several layers. And at present, all we are doing is for the world. And then I will refer this book of Nandan Nilekani about imagining India. And then he says that when he was asked that the playing field is being involved, that he says that the countries like India are now able to compete to the global knowledge work as never before. That America had better to get ready for this. America was going to be challenged, but he insisted the challenge would be good for America because we are always at our best where we can be challenged. And then the world is flat. That's why I need to just find out how we are trying to do everything in this globalization. Now these are the 4 phases of globalization. The present phase is globalization 3, where world has shrunk. It's a small size. Individuals and small groups are globalizing, and we are contributing to the world. So role of India. Now let us say what we are doing. And Indians, most of them, the Indian accountants are filing US tax return because it's all remote. And with all these corona things, I think online applications are coming. And I think we are getting more and more used to US tax laws rather than Indian tax laws. Then Indian radiologists, we have radiology hubs available where all the images of CT scan and MRI, they come to India and we diagnose. And therefore, because anyway, there is a time difference which becomes to advantage, that radiology hubs are giving big services across the country. Indian tutors giving tuitions to the American students, and then everywhere American, we are doing for America. So most important thing, we need to believe in the impossible and remove the improbable. So imagining India, that Nandan Nilekani again says, we are the luckiest country in the world. India has unique combination of IT skills, labor advantage, capital flows, say pool of ambitious outward-looking companies, and massive triple play advantage. So with all these, what is being taught, and we have now a leader like Narendra Modi, where he's trying to do everything to do what's all the startups, and what is required is ideas. The moment you have ideas, everything can be encashed. Therefore, through this lecture, I just want all of you to get sensitized that what is required is an ideas. Doing innovations, everything then it can follow. Now, the CEO of Microsoft, that he says, I truly believe that each must often find meaning in our work. The best work happens when you know that it is not just work, but something that will improve the people's lives. This is most important, that all this innovation need to find out that how we can help to the common man. So it's not about some Indians doing well. It's about India doing well. So through this message, I want to say that we are a great country. We have ambitions. We have competence. We have intelligence. We have everything that is required to become big. And therefore, we need to believe in ourselves. So this is my message. Selling India to Indians. This is one of the, I think, worst thing to happen. So innovations, now there are several books available. I'll give some success stories which can make you proud. Now, Titan, they wanted to create a thinnest watch, and then they went to Switzerland, and then they say, we want a very thin watch, 0.3, 0.8 mm thick, and Swiss said, we can't. And then Tata took the challenge, and then Titan watch is the thinnest watch in the world. SIH-COEP creating a new type of power back system. I'm just giving some examples. Say $25 incubator, which is called Embrace, which just works on hot water. And then because we need to direct to our own needs, this is a Bullock operated reverse osmosis plant. So I think we need to do reverse innovations to find out how we can have cheaper things available, because reducing the health cost is paramount, because today the cost of healthcare is high because all those equipments develop outside, they are paid in dollars, therefore they are costly. Therefore GE did same thing, that they just did it in reverse engineering and then created a portable ECG machine at 10% of the cost without diluting the standards. So this is again say ultrasound machine. So what I'm trying to tell you is we need to pay this attention for creating innovations that we require for this country to make India proud. So at this moment, let me just go on other side, that we need to find out what we can do with the present wave, that is artificial intelligence. Everything is coming and helping us in AI systems, because these systems are going to change the world, and therefore they start thinking. And the low-hanging fruits are what you called as image handling. Now image handling is so common and so popular that the growth of GPU is becoming faster than CPU. And this is NVIDIA, where they proudly say that I am AI. And I just wanted to go into much details, but then we need to find out what are the various levels of AI systems, the machine learning which can learn on itself, and deep learning which can solve most of the problems. And therefore say we can have a symbolic, statistical, or sub-symbolic. So these all scopes of AI system need to be used. And once we know that AI systems are there, the biggest thing that is happening is Internet of Things. So everything, all devices are getting connected with Internet, and these IoTs, they are in home appliances, the software actuator, connectivity, and everything is connected to IoT, and then IoT is exploding. Today, maybe there might be 50 billion devices, and therefore what is required is to find out how we can do all these IoTs, and for maybe for in addition for healthcare, that's called as Internet of Healthy Things. So we have, because I'm a surgeon, I'm just trying to find out these are the new avenues available in Internet of Things, and the clothings are there, the glucose monitors, the BP monitors, pulse oximeter, headset. So this variety of things are available. So what now we need as innovators, just try to find out all these IoTs can be connected. Yesterday I was watching, say all of you, reacting with Mr. Modi, and then I realized a lot of things are being done in IoT. Other thing is how the classical example is we have a corona epidemic. So the thermal sensors are being used for IoT for scanning the body temperature, the aerial thermography using drones, and then we have several of these IoTs available. And actually, there is one competition going on for Internet of Things. So I want all of you to think in this direction. Now this is a website where nominations are invited for IoT for the COVID, and maybe obviously the last date is 11th of August, but then if you have some ideas available, you could directly put in this competition. Other thing is wearables, and wearables are coming in big way, like an Apple Watch, which gives ECG, heart rate, it monitors everything, and these are the wearables which are changing whole management. So it's changing management in cancer, say we are called the cuffs and wristbands and breathomics, and all these things are they are trying to make the management better. So what is required is to get the patient collaboration and find out what are the requirements of doctor in managing those patients, and then these IoTs and wearable can help you out. I can give some classical examples because this is all variables being used for corona. There's something called a skin, which has a built-in sensors. It tracks the stress level, the sleep quality, temperature, ECG level, and everything can be done with this. We have what's called the MedBioSense. So these are all say variables, and then say platforms available. Now this can do respiratory rate, heart rate, ECG, skin temperature, and everything can be done. And most important, for say for monitoring corona, we have something called as a SIH-COEP. Now you all know 70 to 80% of positive COVID patients, they have no symptoms, and we don't know, some of them they suddenly become breathless. So this is a variable which can monitor the breathing, and then it can give you pre-warn say alarm, so that your respiration goes down. It can be reported. I think I just want to find out and tell you that these are the various things available for monitoring, and we need to do some innovations in that area. And so this could be done for early detection, monitoring, accuracy. So this is one which I just wanted all of you to think that out of box. Now this guy created what is called as a algorithm for cough samples. So he just created one app where the patient has to just cough, and then he identified that the cough of a COVID patient has a different frequency, and therefore he put this whole thing in AI algorithms, and then he was able to diagnose, and you can see there's 98.58%. So what I'm trying to tell you, this is out of box thinking, that just a frequency of cough, because cough has whatever say it has a physical properties, say maybe amplitude, height. So this can be measured, and this could be put in an AI system, and therefore it can be done. I think we need to just look at these ideas, and these ideas go and then you can create millions of dollars. There's a classical example of dog barking. A Japanese found out that when a dog is under stress, it barks in different frequency. Therefore, if there is an intruder, the dog barks in a different frequency. So he identified that frequency, and then he created one variable for that dog, that the moment there is an intruder and he barks in different frequency, it generates an alarm and say it gives a call to the owner as well as to the say police station. So now this whole thing just cost now $30 in US, but then that the gentleman who invented that, they became billionaire. So I'm just trying to think all the time that you need to think of out of box in these conditions. So face recognition is everywhere available. You can have face recognition for say patients coming, because now you can't touch. So there's a DRDO model, but you can create your own app. And then Google is creating how can you trace the people and say get what is called as information about who is close by. Then say IIT Kharagpur created a AI-based system to track social distancing. So these are all new ideas available. And what I want is you need to think in this direction, that you have all these apps available, you create new apps, you create new ideas so that the quality of life can be improved. And if you want to work on AI systems, I hope all of you know that everything is available. So now this is the list of platforms: TensorFlow, Keras, say Scikit-learn, Microsoft Cognitive Cell Tool, and where now in a TensorFlow they were having a platform for image handling. And one of my students who is just 12th standard, he created an image handling software for COVID pneumonia versus non-COVID pneumonia, and this person is just 12th standard. So there is no limit for application of intelligence. You need to go further and find out how best you can do. So with this, I just want to two messages. First for the India, second for AI thing, and let us go ahead and we go to something where what you called as how we can have all these leadership created for innovations, because leadership is more important. So you are all be joining some big companies, but then when you leave companies, they tend to leave company because of the boss. And therefore, what is required now? I'm just trying to find out that now you have ideas, you have a startup, and then how you can have those startups going up. So the first thing is required is vision. So Anagata Vidhata, because he who plans for the future and takes care of present attains happiness. And therefore, what is required is vision. So suppose you want to start a startup, you should have every clear-cut idea of what is feature that stimulates, getting everyone to buy into it, because you are going to be leader, turning into a meaningful goals. So this is what is called as a vision for that thing, and therefore the vision plus result, they give you sustainable success. So vision, if it is strong and the results are high, then you have a sustainable success. Otherwise, it goes haywire. So this looks like it's not a financial figure. It's a business plan. It is not a pie of the sky. It is more than words. It's a picture of the future. So while you create a startup company, you need to have this vision, typically for 2 year, 3 year, and then have a strategic focus. So people tell us they need to know, and therefore the vision is, suppose you want to create a company, you have to find out how the vision is relevant to everybody in your organization. So the leader's role is to help people to answer these questions. Second idea, value your values. I think is most important. You need to have values, because Indian ethos, Indian culture uses values, and these values are far more important because people follow what you are doing. Now you are a leader. You are a leader because of innovations, and therefore they follow you. They see what you are doing, and therefore you need to have values, define fundamental characters, have to create culture you want, create a sense of identity. I think as an organization and startup, if your organization has an values, I think it will go further. So what are the values? Tell the truth, be fair, keep your promises, respect the individual, encourage intellectual curiosity, and mutually benefit relationships. So these are the values. And 45% feel that their managers behave in a way which is consistent with company values. Because now suppose you are going to join a company, you need to find out what are the values of the company. And then, so values are become a preferred behavior. So create a teamwork, be a role model. There is no I in team, but there is me if you say hard. So create a team. They give your people a damn good listening. This is idea number 4 for the vision. The best engineers sometimes come in the bodies that they can't talk. So ideas for action. Set up a feedback system that in your team, and beat the brainwashing. Ask your newcomers to spot a business stupidness. Kill the stupid rule. Commerce Bank offers $50% dollar. Then then these are the whole new set of ideas to find out how you can build a big company. So if you want to grow, be an enemy of status quo. When two people in the business always agree, one of them is unnecessary. So leadership, systems and process, culture and measurement. So what process do you have to encourage your people to revolutionize your business? So find great ideas, exaggerate them, spread them like hell and around the business and with spread of light. So idea number 6, create other leaders, not followers. I think this is one of the best thing that I want to message. Don't create followers, create leaders. The moment you create leaders, you have star performance that you can use unused potential, and then productivity goes up, and then you have star performance. And finally, take action, no notes. Vision without action is hallucination. And take the first step in faith. You don't have to see the whole staircase. Just take the first step, because the longest journey on earth starts with first step. So we can all be leaders. So these are the various competencies: direction, management, drive to execute. So if your direction, you should have a vision, conceptual thinker, then management system, then drive to execute, and relationship. So sometimes even if you have everything, we still don't succeed because we lack emotional intelligence. So where our people come together to collaborate, the single most important element in group intelligence, it is not the average IQ, academic sense, but the emotional IQ. And therefore, the key to future competitive advantage will be organized capacity to create a social architecture capable of having intellectual capital. So management, leadership, and emotional quotient, they are all put together, and therefore putting all this together, we need to have a management potential, you need to have leadership to see, and you need to have EQ. So don't just stand there, do something. Thank you. Okay.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir, for enlightening us. I'm sure the participants are taking away a lot from this leadership talk. And yeah, tomorrow is the final day of SIH. So we
Yes.
wish all the participants all the best. And
Okay.
yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
There
Okay.
are some questions, Mane sir.
I think since this is live streaming is done, so we don't have we can't interact with the students. But yes, if some faculty members who are there in this meeting, if they have some queries, they can raise over here. Any questions, faculty members or volunteers?
So I
Okay.
just,
So
to
yes,
summarize,
sir.
I just took the talk in 3 parts. The first part of was inclusive innovation, how we are doing great and selling India to Indians. Second
Yes.
part was about how the latest technologies like AI, IoT, wearables, how we can do all that to have a new innovations across. And third, once you are innovator, you have a startup, you need to have a vision and you need to have a leadership role. And therefore, I just narrated all of those leadership qualities, how they can succeed. And therefore, combination of all things together, leadership qualities, management qualities, and what is called as emotional quotient and emotional intelligence, because that is all that is more important. Because at the end, we all of us put together, we need to see that the quality of life of a common man in this country has to improve, and this is the whole aim of our honorable Prime Minister, Mr. Narendra Modi. Let us give our all innovative hands to him to see that this country becomes great. Thank you.
Right. Sir, one question. Naman here.
Yes, Naman, please
Yeah.
go ahead.
Yeah. Sir, so as you said, like we right now students are facing few, problems which are trying to solve on our own. So we are trying to innovate something, some new solution or something, some platform. So right now there is also uncertainty of a lot of things. So we always prefer to have a job in some company. So when is that phase, or when do we come to know that we should leave all other things and just focus on our, innovative or a startup, so that because we need to have some kind of financial stability also when we are starting something. So when to make that decision? Any thoughts on that? Because you are a visionary on that prospect, sir.
Actually, you need to find out what is the strength of your innovation. At the end, all these innovations, they succeed, but only 10% of those innovations, they go to startups. Now, suppose all of you who are innovators in Smart and Hackathon, maybe all top 3 or top 4 in each category will be financed by Government of India, and they'll be given, I don't know what is the policy today, but they will be given 5 lakh rupee each for continuing their project. And every time as an organizer, when we go to Prime Minister, he always asks what has happened to 100 ideas, those were great last time. And therefore, until we give him feedback. So I think what is required is look at the ecosystem overall, the strength of your innovation. You need to have a marketing, how far it is going to reach the masses, how far it is going to fetch money, and then you go to a startup, and maybe there are a lot many fundings are available for startups. So you need to do both together. Now, various colleges, various universities, they are promoting startups. They are giving you whole ecosystem. I know about IIT, where they have an organization called Sign, where you have to go, and then they give you everything. They give you office space, they give you say funding for equipments, and they even help you to market at the cost that at the afterwards you have to give 2% or 5% of share of your company. So I think what is required through this media, I don't know whether I'm going to reach, is all colleges, universities, they need to change the direction. They need to have an academia industry collaboration and find out how all our students, they instead of going to a say white collar job, they land up in industry and have a startups. So instead of getting one job for yourself, you create a startup and give job for at least 100 people. So that is how the whole economic ecosystem of country will improve. I think this is one thing which is required to understand. And believe me, we are changing fast. And there is so much of academia industry collaboration nowadays that everybody is succeeding. Now, all those talk, say, I was conversant about the last year's hackathon, and those companies who sponsored all these, say, research question, they said we want to employ, and then we have to tell them, he's a second year student, and they sponsored their education, and they had a job when they were not passed. So this is the strength of innovation. So we need to think all in that direction, that innovators are actually most intelligent person. If you see 100 students, then only 10, they go into research, and only 3, they go into innovations. So all 200 guys who are attached to this nodal center are the cream of the society. They're the most intelligent persons in India today. So just don't underestimate yourself. That whole thing is there. There is a whole sky to fly. So I just want to sensitize, I want to encourage, I want to motivate to see that you don't stop here. You already reach because you are intelligent. Because the screening process is so high that out of 10 lakh students coming, you are only maybe 10,000 coming to this stage. So I think you need to say what you call as evaluate your own performance and see that how we can go further. So I think this is one which I want to sensitize and encourage people. Just think out of box. You have all the brains available. Just don't go and just appear for exam and go for some white collar job. So come out, have a startup. Maybe you fail, but no problem. Failures is always there, because Edison said he failed for 1,000 times. He said, I knew 999 ways of not working on a bulb. So I think this need to be think. And I think what is called as rapid prototyping. Suppose you are working on 10 products, one will succeed. So instead, you work on 20 to 30 products, identify, let it fail, and go to the next without bothering with the failure. Because that's what is called as rapid prototyping. Therefore, the chances of success will improve. So through this leadership talk, I just want to motivate people to join startups, to join innovations, and we are in innovation decade. And whole ecosystem in India is there to help you out. So please, please do innovations, do startups. Thank you.
Right. Thank you, sir. Thank you for answering, sir.
Thank you. Are there any other questions?
No, sir. I think
Okay.
if anyone else.
Yeah.
Can I have a link of the video recording, or it's available on YouTube?
Sir, we will send it to you once the session ends.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yes.
it's on the COEP YouTube video channel.
Channel. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
So we have created a channel. It's
Because
on the channel.
last week I gave 2 lectures, one for AI system in Corona, one for one engineering college, one for one medical college. And then the one which I gave for engineering college, there were around 11,000 students attending, where I gave all the new ideas of how AI systems can work in Corona.
Yes, sir. Okay. I think that was a really inspirational talk given by you, sir. And really, this is going to helpful for the students. As you rightly pointed out, that the engineering colleges and the various universities are now started to incubate their own startups of their own students. So COEP also has Bahu Institute, where the particular space has been given to the students, those who are budding startups. So the initial startup is basically free of cost. It is provided to the students as and when they start earning something, and then there is a some amount to be given back to the college. So this is a model now. It is going to be run everywhere in India as well. So we are really fortunate to have you as today's speaker for the leadership talk. We really, on behalf of organizing committee and COEP, so we would like to thank you for sparing your valuable time and enlightening us with on the particular various aspects of innovation and so on. Thank you so much, sir, for
Thank you.
this.
Thank you for
very
inviting.
Yes.
And please acknowledge my thanks to your director as well.
Sure, sir. Thank you so much. Yeah. I think, Naman,